The gallery lights shimmered softly across the polished floor, casting gentle gold reflections on the walls. Conversations floated around Lana like distant echoes, muted by the pounding of her own heart. She kept her breath steady as Jack approached, each step deliberate, controlled, cautious. He stopped a few feet from her, hands slightly shaking at his sides. "Hi," he said. It was a simple word, and somehow it held the gravity of everything they had lived through. Lana swallowed, her voice soft.
"E."
For a moment neither moved. The gallery faded. The music, the people, the clinking of glasses, all drifting into blur behind the weight of this long-awaited reunion. Jack finally spoke, voice low. "You look beautiful." She didn't blush. She didn't shy away. She simply nodded. "Thank you." He hesitated, then said, "Your art, it's breathtaking. Emotional. Honest." Lana turned toward the nearest painting, the one she had named Becoming. A woman emerging from fractured brushstrokes, rising through cracks toward light. "I painted it while I was healing," she said softly. Jack's eyes darkened with remorse. "I know." Lana looked at him carefully. "You've seen my work?" He nodded. "All of it. The gallery posted previews online last week. I've looked at every piece more than once." A strange warmth flickered in her chest, but she kept her composure. She wasn't the woman who needed his validation anymore. But the sincerity in his voice, it mattered. Jack exhaled shakily and motioned toward the far corner. "Can we talk somewhere quieter?" Lana considered. Her pulse quickened, but she nodded. "All right." He led her to a small alcove near the back of the gallery, where a large window overlooked the glowing city. They stood facing each other, shadows stretching long behind them. Jack's voice trembled when he finally spoke. "I didn't know how to prepare for this." "Neither did I." He ran a hand through his hair. "I've imagined this moment for months. What I'd say. How I'd apologize. But now that you're here," he swallowed hard. "Everything I rehearsed feels wrong." Lana waited, steady and silent. Jack breathed out.
"I'm sorry, Lana."
Not the easy kind of sorry. Not the sorry that expects forgiveness. I mean the kind you say when you know you broke something you had no right to break. Her chest tightened, but she didn't look away. "I hurt you," he whispered, "and I've carried that every single day since you left." Lana's voice was low, but steady. "Why, Jack?" He met her eyes, vulnerable. "Because I was drowning. And instead of reaching for the hand that could save me, I reached for anything that looked like a lifeline. Even if it was shallow. Even if it wasn't real." His honesty was raw, painful, and unshielded, not filtered by shame or pride. Lana's throat tightened. "You could have talked to me." "I know." Jack's voice cracked. "I was afraid you'd see how weak I felt. And I didn't want to be a disappointment to you." "You were never a disappointment," she said quietly. "You were human. But you hid from me. You left me alone in a marriage I was trying to hold together." Jack bowed his head. "I know. And that's the part I'm trying to understand and change." He paused, then reached into his coat and pulled out a small box, plain, worn, tied with a faded ribbon. Lana stared at it. "What's that?" Jack held it out with both hands, as if offering something sacred.
"Letters," he said.
18 of them. Over the months you were gone. All the things I never said. All the truths I didn't know how to speak. Lana's breath caught. "You don't have to read them now," he said quickly. "Or ever. I just needed you to know they exist. That I've been trying." She didn't take the box yet. Her gaze softened, then drifted to the wall behind him, where one of his photographs hung. It was a black and white portrait of a window covered in soft rain droplets. The caption beneath it read, "The night she left." Lana's eyes widened. "You captured that night." He nodded slowly. "It was the only way I knew how to survive it." She stepped closer to the photo. Her heart cracked open at the sight. "I took it," Jack said quietly, "when I realized the world looked different without you in it." His voice trembled. It wasn't gray, it was hollow. Lana blinked back tears. "I didn't bring you here to guilt you or convince you of anything," Jack continued. I brought myself here to show you who I've become without you, and who I hope I can be with you again. Lana finally looked at him. The man standing before her wasn't the one who hesitated. Wasn't the one who sought warmth in the wrong places. Wasn't the one who let silence break what love could have healed. He seemed steadier now. Gentler. More aware of the weight of his choices. And she realized something painful and beautiful. She still loved him. But it was a new kind of love. Wiser, cautious, honest. Jack. Her voice trembled softly. I don't know what happens after tonight. I don't either, he said. And that's okay. I'm not asking you to come back. I'm not asking for promises. I just want to earn your trust again. One step at a time. She stared at him, tears finally slipping down her cheeks. He reached into his pocket again and pulled out something small, a photograph. Can I show you something? He asked softly.
She nodded.
He handed her the photo. Lana lifted it gently. Her breath hitched. It was a picture of her from years ago, standing in a sunlit field, head tilted back, laughing with paint on her cheek. I took this the day I fell in love with you, Jack whispered. You didn't know I snapped it. I kept it hidden for a long time, too afraid you'd see how much of me you carried. Her hands trembled as she held the photo. Memories washed over her, warm, soft, heartbreaking. You always were the brightest part of my life, he said. I just forgot how to see it. And I'm so sorry. Lana stepped closer, the world narrowing to just the two of them. I'm not the same woman I was, she said, her voice quiet. I know, he whispered. That's why I'm not asking for the same love. I'm only asking for a chance to meet the woman you've become. Tears welled in her eyes. And I'm not the same man I was, he added. I'm better now, because losing you made me face myself. Silence folded around them, different this time. Not sharp, not distant, just real. Lana took a slow, deep breath. Then another. She looked into Jack's eyes with a steadiness she hadn't felt in years. Maybe, she said softly, maybe we can talk. Not tonight, but soon. Jack nodded, the slightest smile trembling on his lips. Whenever you're ready. Lana touched the box of letters gently, with fingertips, not promises. I'll take these, she whispered. He exhaled, a shaky, grateful breath. Thank you. She held the box to her chest, the weight of it warm and fragile. I'm not promising anything yet, she said gently. Jack nodded. I don't expect you to. But, she added softly, I'm not closing the door either. His eyes glistened. That's more than I hoped for. The gallery lights dimmed around them as guests began to leave, murmuring softly. Music softened into a quiet hum. For the first time in months, Lana and Jack stood side by side, not as lovers, not as strangers, not as broken pieces, but as two people willing to try again.
Slowly, gently.
Honestly, Lana took a breath. I'm glad you're here tonight, she said. Jack's voice was barely a whisper. I'm glad you are too. They didn't touch. They didn't rush. They didn't force a moment. But as they stood there, breathing the same air again, forgiveness began to find its way between them. Not in one grand gesture, but in a quiet photograph, a box of letters, and the steady hope of two hearts learning how to meet again. The evening of the exhibition ended quietly. People drifted out into the night, leaving behind echoes of conversation and the soft clicking of lights being dimmed. Lana and Jack exchanged a final look before going their separate ways, not as lovers, not as strangers, but as two souls walking parallel paths, slowly bending toward each other. Lana returned to the seaside retreat that night with the box of letters pressed to her chest. She placed it gently on the table, as if it were fragile.
She didn't open it yet.
Her heart wasn't ready, but she didn't hide it either. It stayed there on the table in the soft glow of her lamp, a quiet reminder that her story with Jack wasn't finished. She waited 3 days before opening the box. When she finally did, she lifted the lid slowly, almost ceremonially, as though she were opening a time capsule of grief and growth. The first letter sat on top. She unfolded it with shaking hands.
Lana,
I walked into the kitchen today, and the light hit the counter exactly the way it used to when you stood there cutting fruit. I swear I saw your silhouette for a moment. Her breath caught. Every word carried the weight of a man breaking and rebuilding at the same time. She read 3 letters that night, stopped when the tears blurred the ink, closed the box softly, then slept with it beside her bed, not like a burden, but like something she was learning to understand. Meanwhile, Jack continued his therapy and photography, each session less about guilt and more about becoming a man who could love without fear.
He walked more.
He cooked more. He worked less. He listened more to people, to silence, to the things he used to bury. His therapist asked him one session, "If Lana walked back into your life tomorrow, what would you say?" Jack's answer was quiet, certain. "I'd tell her I don't need to be forgiven to love her better. I just want to meet her where she is." And he meant it. 1 month after the exhibition, Lana returned to the city. Her residency was over. She had painted enough for 2 showcases, journaled enough for a book, and healed enough to finally exhale without breaking. Mariah hugged her tightly. "You look lighter." "I feel lighter," Lana whispered. She meant it. They spent the evening talking on the balcony, sipping tea while a soft rain fell. Lana told her everything, about the letters, the exhibition, the look in Jack's eyes, the warmth she felt but wasn't ready to name yet. Mariah smiled softly. "You're not done with him." Lana didn't deny it. She only looked at the rain and said, "I'm not done with myself either." 2 nights later, Lana found herself walking through the city at dusk, the air cool, the sky bruised with lavender and gold. Without thinking, she passed by the cafe, where she and Jack once spent Sunday mornings. She paused. The memory didn't hurt. It simply felt like something from another life. Her phone buzzed. A message. From Jack. "I hope you're home safe. If you ever want to talk again, even just as friends, I'm here."
No expectations.
Just honesty. Lana read it twice. Her heart didn't ache. It expanded. She typed back. "Maybe soon." Soon turned into 5 days. They met at a small cafe near the river, neutral ground. Lana arrived first, ordering tea. She wore a soft cream sweater and jeans, simple and effortless. When Jack walked in, her breath caught. He looked calm. Not nervous. Not frantic. Just real. He approached slowly.
"Eat."
"Hi," she replied with a small smile. They sat. They talked. At first about small things.
Work. Art.
The weather. Then about the harder things, gently, carefully, like touching old wounds that had scarred but not faded. Jack didn't justify himself. Didn't defend himself. Didn't rush her. He listened. She spoke softly. And he absorbed every word like a man who finally understood the value of silence. After nearly 2 hours, a pause settled between them. Natural, warm. Lana looked at him. "I'm proud of you." He blinked, eyes glistening. "Thank you. That means everything." And Jack, "I forgive you." He exhaled sharply, the relief hitting him like a wave. "I'll spend the rest of my life making sure it wasn't wasted forgiveness." Lana shook her head gently.
No.
"You'll spend the rest of your life being someone you're proud of. The rest is just choice." Jack nodded. "Then I choose you. But only if and when you choose me too." Lana swallowed. "I'm not ready to come back." He smiled softly. "I didn't ask you to." She relaxed. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel pressure in his presence. Just ease. Months passed. They saw each other often, small walks, conversations, shared coffees, occasional dinners.
They didn't rush.
Didn't label. Didn't cling. They simply rebuilt a friendship where trust could bloom again.
Jack continued therapy.
Lana continued painting. They both continued growing. And slowly, so slowly it felt like dawn creeping across a sleeping world, their hearts began to drift closer. One evening, they stood on a bridge overlooking the river, the city lights shimmering on the surface like scattered hope. Jack leaned on the railing. "Lana, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "I miss you. Not the past you. The you who stands beside me now." Her breath caught.
Soft.
Tender. He continued, voice low, honest. I don't want to go backward. I want to build something new.
With who we are now.
Not who we were. Lana looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had once broken her was gone. Standing here was someone transformed, humbled, grounded, steady. Someone who had earned the right to try again. She stepped closer. Her hand brushed his. Electricity bloomed.
Warm.
Gentle.
Certain.
Jack froze, breath trembling. Lana whispered, I think I'm ready. He turned fully toward her. For what? Her eyes softened.
For us.
Not the old US. The new one. He held her gaze, silent, overwhelmed, grateful. Then she slipped her fingers fully into his. Jack closed his eyes, a tear sliding down his cheek. I won't hurt you, he whispered. I know, she said gently, because I'm not afraid anymore. His voice cracked. I love you. Lana smiled, not the smile of a woman blinded by hope, but the smile of someone who had walked through fire and found her way back to her own light. I love you too, she whispered. And under the soft glow of the city, with the river murmuring beneath them, Lana rested her forehead against his. It wasn't a dramatic kiss. It wasn't a movie-ending embrace. It was a quiet promise, one built on healing, truth, and the courage to begin again. Lana moved back into Jack's apartment 6 weeks later, slowly, intentionally. Not because she needed him, but because she wanted him. And because he had become someone worthy of choosing again. They repainted the walls together. They framed her artworks. They hung his photographs. They built a new home, one that breathed with both of them, not one carrying shadows of the past. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sun dip below the skyline, Lana rested her head on Jack's shoulder. This feels different, she murmured. It is different, Jack whispered into her hair. We're different. She smiled softly. And that's why it works. He kissed the top of her head gently. Lana closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the fading sun and the steady beat of the man beside her. Once, they had nearly lost everything. Once, their love had cracked under silence and fear. But here, in the quiet glow of a new beginning, they finally understood. Love doesn't stay unbroken. Love stays because it learns how to rebuild. Love stays because people choose each other again and again. Love stays where the light stays. And in this new chapter of their lives, Lana and Jack finally found the place where the light never left.